Good morning. How's it going? What's shaking? Liz, I saw you found a new place to try. That looked really cool. Did you have a good time? I'm happy for you. Oh, so loud. Oh, good hit things. Yeah, I bet. I bet. Okay, let's hope that actually goes in the cup. Trial sounds lovely. Good morning, everybody. How are we all today? It's Thursday, right? New football day. Means that our league starts a new week today. I'm against GG this week. Who else is everyone against this week? I'm up against GG. And it looks like we're fairly evenly matched, but I might go all the way this week. I don't know. We'll see. We shall see. Good morning. Yes. Happy Thursday to you all. Yeah, we'll see how this week goes for. I love a good matchup. Sleepy baby. She's out. We're definitely in a new routine where she sleeps for half the book club, which is fine. I'll take what I can get, right? Morning, Jen. Jen's the real MVP of the fantasy league because she keeps reminding people when they have empty spots, which is very kind. Hello. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. Blah. Morning after a few days not here. Yes, good morning, Christy. How are you? Did you guys see my husband's cup? If any of you didn't see it, he chose this cup for himself last time we were at Disneyland. Jen needs to stop that. I'm too cutthroat to remind people. That's funny. I'm like halfway between you and Jen. I feel like cutthroat sometimes, but other times I'm kind enough to remind. Yeah, we were at Disneyland and he saw this cup and he said, I think I need that cup. And I was like, you should get it then, for sure. You know, this is his cup. Anyone else in there feels fighting taking kids out of school just to hug him? Yeah, please. I do not blame you in the slightest for that. Oh, but I do blame me in the slightest for this. Empty, sad. Let's replace the missing sleeves. I don't know how anyone sends their kids to school, if I'm being honest. Like, I think about it every day because, you know, I'm generally speaking, I'm against homeschooling as a rule unless there's like a developmental reason for the kid to need homeschooling. But like as a general rule, I'm not a fan of homeschooling. That being said, with the state of things, how can you not be a fan of homeschool? You know what I mean? Like, you know, yeah, exactly. It's super scary. It may happen at least you have this. Yes, exactly. So I get it, right? You know. Yeah, I think I just have, you know, I have pretty firm opinions on it, probably based on the way that I was raised. I went to, for 6th and 7th, no, for 7th this school that was basically being homeschooled, but like at school, it was an extreme detriment to my education, to my development. They don't require someone with any experience in education to lead the children. We had a teacher, but they were not certified and all this stuff. And even though it was like technically a certified school, they didn't need to be a certified instructor. Very strange. I am very against it. When I got to regular school, I was so behind the other students in everything except the things that I chose to research on my own. So like I read extremely well because I just did that naturally. I wrote well, but math, I was so behind. It's not even funny. And I had to play catch up like crazy when I finally convinced my mom to send me to a real school. Yeah, definitely not religious based. It was bad. It was bad, you guys. So I don't ever recommend things. So like whenever anyone's like, yeah, but they have all these like homeschool collectives now, I'm like, yeah, I did that. I'm here to tell you it does not end well. My live now. All right. My niece and nephew went last year, and it was just the same as virtual, state random virtual. Interesting. So then, why is it considered homeschool if it's state run? I don't understand that. I'm not being facetious. I'm actually asking. If it's state run, isn't it just school, but like it's an actual teacher? Then, am I crazy? I think that's different, isn't it? Than like BS homeschooling. I'm trying to get to my chair very carefully without spilling anything. Oh, I did it. Okay. Shh. Yeah, see, I don't consider that homeschooling, although I don't necessarily love that either because again, you do miss the social aspect, but yeah, home learning is hard, but I think home learning and homeschooling are two different things in my opinion, because if you are doing a state-run program from home, you're still getting the same education as the kids at school, as opposed to actual homeschooling that can be run by even your parent who may have no understanding. Yes, I agree, Sloth. I think there's a big difference. Now, that being said, I do believe that the socialization of actually going to school is really important. I know people who are homeschooled, and you can tell. You know what I mean? And like, everyone's a little socially awkward, but like, you can tell. You know? And so it's like, you know, but you know, it's every person's choice. But like I said, I understand where Ray's coming from, and your child's life is more important than their socialization. So it's one of those, right? It's a catch-22 there, right? You want them to have all the things, but you want them to live through all the things. Random, but your artwork on your wall. Oh, my husband picked all of that out. This is all chosen by my husband, who is an artist. Then you have to have them have more activities outside of school. Yeah, 2 or 3 of my kids are homeschooled and they get so much social interaction. That's good. No, that is not the case for every set of kids, for sure. That is definitely not always the case. As far as doing more activities outside of school, I have mixed feelings about that. And I guess if you're not in school, it's different. When I was a nanny, The kids that I nannied had so many after school activities, so many, you guys. We were always going somewhere, and every week the kids were always just like, Sasha, can't we just be home for a little bit? You know what I mean? And that would never be the case for a homeschool kid because they'd be home all the time. But those kids were carted from place to place to place, and they never got to just be kids and just play because they had so many activities. I think that's another, it's hard, Christy. That's another issue that, like, with the homeschooling thing, you don't have, like, it's like work from home. You know how work from home can become a little bit toxic because you don't have an escape, you know? I'm so grateful that we get to work from home, but my job is always here. And so if I have any downtime, I'm always like, I should probably be in the office. And then I just automatically go and pack a couple orders up or make a slime, you know, because it's there and I feel like I should. And I wonder if that would translate the same way where you would feel like you're always at school, even though you're at home. Like I said, my homeschooling was done in a collective at another place, and it was terrible. So 10 out of 10, don't recommend that one. Actually, I think that school is closed by now. And again, this was, you know, 20 something years. Well, a lot. You hated the COVID years. Yeah, I mean, that's a lot of it, right? That's a lot of it. So anyway, but I fully, completely, 110% understand where Ray is coming from and all the parents are coming from that have school-age children, because I do not envy your decision right now. Yeah, staycations are hard for that reason. That's exactly right, because it's always there. Yes, work from home is great until you're disrupted. Yeah, my niece kept busy with horses, nephew just slept. Yeah, I mean, my husband says that all the time. When he was in high school, he just slept all the time. So I think that's the same whether you go to real school or not. Boys just sleep a lot because they're growing so much. He was like Connor. He just slept through every class. But, you know, but there's, you know, then there's the other side of it, right? Like my goddaughter, Natasha, she just chose to go to boarding school. How crazy is that? She's in 9th grade and she made a PowerPoint to explain to her parents why she should get to go to boarding school. Boarding school? You're 14. Like, slow down. Don't you get to live at home for a little while more? Like, you know, so I guess every kid is different, you know. And do I think I would have sent my kid to boarding school at 14? Probably not. You know, and that's the choice that they made. She's not my child. She's just my goddaughter. You know, am I going to send her care packages? Yeah. Do I love that she's away from home? No, not really. You know, but it's not my choice. And so I don't say anything to them. I just say, can I have the address to send her stuff? That's it. You know, she's only my child if both of her parents die in a crazy accident, which I don't think is going to happen at this point. So anyway, that is the sitch. But the reason I brought that up is actually because she has to take care of horses at her boarding school. That's a part of the 9th graders, part of the 9th grade curriculum at the boarding school that she goes to is each 9th grader is assigned a horse, and they have to get up every morning at 5 in the morning, muck out their stalls, wash the horse, care for the horse, etc. and so on, to teach them responsibility. That's a part of it. Isn't that crazy? That's like a part of their job while they're there. Yeah, yeah. So, interesting, right? Yeah, but that's why I brought it up, Nikki, because you mentioned your niece kept busy with horses. My niece has never, or not my niece, my goddaughter has never really done a lot with horses, but she's gonna now. She doesn't have a choice anymore. So, anyway, that is my diatribe on all those things. And I am open to, you know, friendly discussion about all of that, obviously, as we always are. She is very mature. Yes, she's very mature. Behavioral therapy, yeah. Yes, Naisa, excellent. All right, let's read. The independence and confidence that must build is great for her, though. Yes, I agree. She is a very intelligent and forward-thinking girl. She knows what she wants to do with her life, and she researched the school that has the best results for that. She wants to go into medicine, and she wants to go to Stanford specifically. So she looked up the schools that have the highest rate of other students getting into Stanford and then into medical school. And she made a PowerPoint presentation for her parents saying why she should go to this school so that she can accomplish her goals. And I was like, damn, okay.
I mean, like, how can you even argue with that? If you have the means to do it, of course, right? But that's what she did, all on her own, you know? And it's not like we don't have good schools here in LA, we do, but that's what she did. So, anyway, that is the long and the short, but let's go ahead and get reading. Yesterday we had to stop partway through a chapter, but we were at a scene break, which is good. So basically, if you are not caught up, we joined up with Mother Goose yesterday, and then there was a scene break when they're planning something based on the fact that Mother Goose is a little bit of a lush. I'm going to move this over here because it makes it easier for me since that's the back of her head and I don't have to worry about covering her face. But I am going to cover her ears so she doesn't wake up from hearing me read. For anyone keeping track for their Goodreads, we are on page 101, and this is The Enchantress Returns. Who doesn't love Mother Goose? If you don't love Mother Goose, who hurt you? Truly, who hurt you? Because she's everything. Mother Goose is everything good on this planet. Here we go. Alex tossed and turned all night long, having the worst nightmares of her life. I know, right, Jen? I agree, yeah. It started off as the same dream that she had been having for months. She and her brother ran happily through the woods outside, only to be kept away from their grandmother's cottage. However, this time when they peered through the window, they did not see their grandmother, but their mother. She was crying, and she whispered, "Help me," over and over until Alex woke up. Alex was shaking and sweaty and began to cry. For all she knew, this wasn't just a dream. Her mother could be in serious danger or seriously hurt. Alex couldn't live like this anymore. She needed to find out what was going on by any means possible. Later, when the rest of the house had woken, Alex went downstairs and found Connor, Mother Goose, and Bob having breakfast. "Good morning," Bob said. "How'd you sleep?" "I didn't," Alex said. "Sounds like we had similar nights," Connor said, looking at her with bags under his own eyes. "I'll pour you some cereal," Mother Goose said, and she went into the kitchen and poured milk and cereal from a box of Mother Goose grits. A cartoon illustration of a much happier and smiling Mother Goose was displayed on the box. She placed a bowl of cereal in front of Alex. "Goose grits?" Alex said. "Should I even ask?" "Don't judge me," Mother Goose said. "I usually hate the depictions of me in this world. They're normally so degrading. But I try to have an open mind about cereal when they came out with it, and honestly, it's been addictive ever since." Alex shrugged and she took a bite. It wasn't half bad. "Mother Goose was just explaining to Bob all about the fairy tale world," Connor said. "Yes, it's fascinating stuff," Bob said. He was eager to continue their conversation. "Correct me if I'm wrong, but you and the other fairies have been around for hundreds of years, traveling between the worlds and telling stories to children in need?" "That's it in a golden eggshell," Mother Goose said. "So you must be thousands of years old?" Bob said, and Mother Goose shot him a dirty look. "Yeah, hold your horses there, cowboy," she said. "Don't get me wrong, I'm older than dirt, but I'm not as old as you think. This world used to run much faster than ours. You've had so many different eras and periods, the Middle Ages, the Renaissance, the Enlightenment, the Industrial Age, and now the Modern Age. We've only had like 3 or so that I can even recall." "What were they?" Alex asked, keen on a bit of learning fairy tale history. Let me think for a second, Mother Goose said. "Well, we had the Dragon Age, we had the Age of Magic, and we're currently in the Golden Age. Well, it used to be the Golden Age anyway, until all this drama happened." "The Dragon Age?" Connor asked excitedly. "You mean there were actually dragons in the fairy tale world?" "Oh yeah, tons of them," Mother Goose said. "It was a mess. Disasters and barbecues left and right. They're extinct now, kind of like your dinosaurs." "Did you ever see one?" Connor asked. "I used to wrestle them long before I took up magic and storytelling," Mother Goose said with a boastful smile, and Connor squinted at her. "Are you pulling my leg?" he asked, and Mother Goose rolled up her sleeves and showed Connor a large burn mark on her forearm. "This ain't from cooking, kid," she said, and Connor just stared at her with an open mouth. He had never been so impressed by someone in his entire life, and Mother Goose milked the admiration for all it was worth. "You were around for the Middle Ages and the Renaissance, right?" Alex asked. "You must have seen so many places and people." "I started the Renaissance, honey," Mother Goose said like it was a tea party she had thrown, and the twins felt that they were both being led on now. I did, though. Yeah, Mother Goose said. It was just me, your grandmother, Rosette, Skyline, and Violetta back then. We were so bored in the human world that one night I threw a big party. We had a great time. Next thing I know, we come back a few decades later and all of Europe had copied our party. Our grandmother was there? Connor asked. Oh, yeah, Mother Goose said. She was a lot of fun back then. After she had your father, she became so motherly, though. That's how she got her title, the fairy godmother, from being so sweet and maternal to literally everyone. Alex and Connor exchanged a look. However upset they were with their grandmother, she still became more and more amazing the more they learned about her. You know, Mother Goose continued, Leonardo da Vinci and I did have a bit of a fling. Alex gasped. Oh, I don't believe you. Now you're just making things up. Mother Goose rolled her eyes and looked directly into Alex's, serious as can be. Why do you think he tried to build a flying machine? He was trying to keep up with me and Lester. Hey, Lester, tell these kids that I dated Leonardo. They don't even believe me. Lester appeared at the kitchen and he nodded, confirming this news for the twins. They were astonished. Of course, I didn't go by Mother Goose back then, she said. My code name was Mona Lisa. You're the Mona Lisa? Connor asked. The famous painting? Alex asked. Why do teenagers always think people are lying to them? I've got no reason to be dishonest with you, Mother Goose told them. Leo, as I used to call him, made me laugh, but that's apparent in my portrait. Alex and Connor glared at her with their mouths hanging open. They didn't know what to believe anymore. Why did you have a code name? Connor asked. I told you. I got enemies, Mother Goose said. I've had several aliases over the years. Guinevere, Mona Lisa, Lady Godiva, the Goose Flew. Those were all me. Now I simply go by Mother Goose because it fits me the best. Bob was just as bewildered as the twins were. There he sat, a man of education and science, slowly losing faith in everything that he thought he knew. I'm sorry, so you and the fairies have been spreading the same fairy tales all this time? Bob asked. Well, we spread them as it happens, Mother Goose said. Most recent history has had the biggest impact on the world. The stories of Sleeping Beauty, Snow White, Cinderella, blah, blah, blah. That's why we call it the Golden Age. Unfortunately, the more this world began to develop, the faster it seemed to go by in comparison to our world. We were afraid these stories would get lost over time, so we recruited a few people in this world to help us with them. Like the Brothers Grimm, Bob asked, starting to understand. The Brothers Grimm, Hans Christian Andersen, Walt Disney, Mother Goose listed, but we stopped recruiting proteges and mostly just do it ourselves these days. There isn't a time difference to be worried about anymore, and things seem calm after our world and the Happily Ever After assembly was formed, so we just needed something to do. The Happily Ever After assembly? Bob asked. It's sort of like the United Nations, Alex said. All the kings and queens signed a treaty to regulate peace. All the kings and queens, the fairy godmother, the fairy council, and I all make up the assembly. We've watched over the treaty since it was created, Mother Goose said. It's been working out really well. Our world has stayed pretty peaceful. Until now, that is. Mother Goose eyed the twins. She had been told that she wasn't supposed to bring up the current situation with them, and Bob nodded slightly. I think I'm starting to understand this all, he said, except one thing. You said there was a time difference between the worlds? What happened? Mother Goose gestured to the twins. These two showed up, she said with a smile. They're the first children born of both worlds, and somehow they just linked them together. Magic works in mysterious ways. It always has. Bob looked over at the twins with an impressed grin on his face. We're gonna have a big deal, Connor said. Bob smiled. Well, you think you know someone, huh, guys? He said with a wink, and Bob left for work within the hour. Then the twins began another day of moping around the house with only their worries to entertain themselves. They had grown very tired of the same concerns rotating in their heads. The next couple of days were as tense as the last week had been. Mother Goose wasn't as strict as Xanthos, and it was a huge relief for the twins. The soldiers had to wake her in the middle of her naps to remind her of the gnoming shifts. Alex's spirits were raised by seeing how much Connor bonded with Mother Goose. The two became practically inseparable. During the day, they would sit at the window looking at the front of the house and play pranks on the mailman. Mother Goose would wiggle an ear and magically move the mailbox wherever whenever he would turn his back. And after dinner, if they weren't watching professional wrestling, Mother Goose and Connor would play cards with the soldiers. She even taught him how to hide an ace up his sleeve. Alex didn't fill him in on the plan that had been forming in her head for days. She already felt guilty enough about breaking her grandmother's wishes alone. She didn't want to drag her brother into it. But one night, Connor went to bed early and Alex stayed up, keeping an eye on Mother Goose. She was sitting at the kitchen table, thermos in hand, reminiscing about the fairy tale world with the soldiers. Alex could tell she was having a little too much fun because her eyes were glazed over and she was slurring and rhyming her words. I haven't had this much fun since I was so very young, and I used to rub a dub-dub with 3 men in the tub. Mother Goose laughed and passed her thermos around the table. The soldiers each took a long swig, and their eyes began to droop too as the time went by. Mother Goose, may I confess something to you? One of the soldiers said sadly. I was one of the king's men who tried to put Humpty Dumpty back together again, and I know you two were very close, and I'm so sorry that we couldn't help him. Mother Goose's eyes filled with tears as she was reminded of her late friend and the night he had his tragic accident. Humpty Dumpty and I sat on that wall. Humpty Dumpty and I had such a ball, she said. Humpty had to fall right there and right then because poor Humpty couldn't hold his gin. I missed that egg so much. Mother Goose buried her face in her hands and she cried drunkenly for a few moments. She woke a few moments later, collected her thermos, and took a seat in her rocking chair by the fireplace. She snapped her fingers and a fire appeared in that fireplace, and then she went to take one last swig from her thermos, but was disappointed to discover that she and the soldiers had drunk it all. Oh no, that's so sad, Nikki. I'm sorry, I didn't know I was being that quiet. This was the moment Alex had been waiting for. She snuck into the kitchen and she retrieved the bottle of champagne that Bob had brought the night of the proposal. Alex hoped that she could put it to good use tonight. Mother Goose began to doze off again in her rocking chair when she was startled by a loud pop. Alex opened the champagne bottle right behind her. Hey, care for a refill? Alex asked and gestured to the empty thermos that Mother Goose held tightly in her grip. Oh, that's very kind of you, Mother Goose said, a little discombobulated, and she held up her thermos and Alex filled it all the way to the top and set the champagne bottle aside. You got a heavy pour. You're my kind of gal, Mother Goose said and took her first sip. This is good stuff. Are you sure it isn't being saved for anything special? Yeah, Bob was saving it for when he was going to propose to my mom, but that all went out the window when she was kidnapped, Alex said, and restlessly took a seat on the floor next to Mother Goose's chair. Kids as good as the two of you shouldn't go through what you've been going through, Mother Goose said sadly and lovingly stroked Alex's hair. Her eyes were sad but grew heavier and glassier with every swig of the thermos. Alex almost had her where she wanted her. Well, almost. Connor and I have been through so much together, and we've always been capable of handling anything that came our way, Alex said. So you can imagine why it's so frustrating not knowing anything. I mean, it doesn't matter how fast we grow up, we're still being treated like children. A loud snoring sound came from Mother Goose. She had dozed off. Alex tapped her until she was awake again. Huh? Mother Goose said with one eye open. What were you saying, honey? Alex thought fast, and Mother Goose was somewhere between consciousness and dreamland. Alex wanted to take full advantage of this. You were just telling me how bad it is in the fairy tale world, Alex said, nodding her head a little too convincingly, and Mother Goose bobbed her head up and down. Things are bad, to say the very least. The vines and thorn bushes still cover the east, she said, and then she looked around in a daze. I think I've had too much bubbly. This room is spinning. That's terrible, Alex said, and immediately refilled Mother Goose's thermos. But surely the happily ever after assembly can handle the vines and the thorn bushes, right? Alex pushed the thermos in her direction. Mother Goose took another sip from it. The vines and the thorns are not what's awful. It's the magic behind them that's too darn powerful, Mother Goose said. They tried finding her before she struck. We ran out of time, and we ran out of luck. Her head fell to her chest, and she dozed off again. Alex shook her awake. It was more difficult this time. I'm sorry, dear. I don't mean to keep falling asleep in the middle of your sentences, Mother Goose said. She was practically cross-eyed from exhaustion. What is it that you were saying? And Alex thought quickly again. I was just saying I hope that you find whatever you're looking for, she said, and Mother Goose nodded and gently touched the side of Alex's face. Don't fret on the idea. They'll soon find Esmea, Mother Goose said. Esmea? Alex asked. She had never heard this name before. Who is Esmea? Mother Goose's eyes grew twice in size. If she hadn't been so intoxicated, she would have sat straight up in her seat. Alex knew this was some information she was supposed to be keeping from her and her brother. Oh dear, Mother Goose said, and she hiccuped. Please don't tell your grandmother what I said to you just now. I won't. I swear, Alex said, and Mother Goose slumped with relief. I won't as long as you tell me who she is, Alex added. Mother Goose tensed up as much as she could with all the bubbling in her system. I can't. I promised your grandmother that I wouldn't say a word, she said. Then don't say it. Rhyme it, Alex said, and she stood up and looked closely into Mother Goose's eyes, more desperate for information than ever. I'm going to find out eventually. It's only a matter of time, so please, just tell me, who is Esmea? And Mother Goose looked around the house to make sure they were alone and took one final swig from her thermos. She looked away from Alex and into the fire, not wanting to make eye contact with Alex while she gave up the information that she had sworn not to give. For years the world presumed she was dead. Her whereabouts were unknown and left unsaid. In the shadows she stayed quietly plotting, a vengeful wrath she planned on igniting. Driven by rage and centuries of sorrow, a suppressed fear shall soon be tomorrow's. After failing to curse the princess's death, she's now set her sights on the world's last breath. Happily ever after will be a thing of the past, for the evil enchantress has returned at last. Sorry. Mother Goose closed her eyes, not from fatigue this time, but from shame. Alex hung on to every word. The enchantress? Alex asked, putting together the pieces of the rhyme. The evil enchantress who tried to kill Sleeping Beauty is back? Thank you all. Yeah, Mother Goose said. Her name's Esmea, and she has your Her chin fell to her chest, and she went into her deepest sleep that Alex had ever seen. Her snores filled the silent house. Alex's eyes darted around the room. Her heart was racing. She had to catch her breath because learning this information knocked the wind out of her. It was as if Alex's brain had switched into autopilot. She immediately ran up the stairs and into her bedroom and dumped out all the school books and supplies from her backpack, piled as many clothes in as she could fit, and threw a sweater over her head and put on her running shoes. Alex ran down the stairs and into the kitchen, she stalked all the food and necessities she knew she would need on a long trip. Knives, matches, water bottles, etc. She wasn't even that careful, passing by the soldiers who were passed out at the table. Even if she was caught making a run for it, she was so determined she didn't think that anyone or anything could stop her. She went out the front door and steered her bike off the porch and into the street, and she glanced back at the gnomes. While they remained completely still, she knew the soldiers inside them were anything but. I know you can't stop me because I'm not in any danger, Alex called out to the gnomes. Yet, she said under her breath. She pedaled off into the night as fast as she could, knowing that it would only be a matter of time before one of the soldiers or Mother Goose came after her. Alex didn't have much of a plan, but she knew where she was headed. She was going to her grandmother's cottage in the mountains. The trips that her family used to take when she and her brother were small to visit her grandmother, always took a couple of hours by car, so she knew that she had a long journey ahead of her by bike. But if there was any place that she would find some of her grandmother's stuff to set off or turn on, that gave her entrance to the fairy tale world. She knew that it was going to be in that cottage. Alex took one final look back at her house before it disappeared. A little voice in her head told her it would be a long time before she saw this house again, but she welcomed that feeling. She didn't care what her grandmother's wishes were. Alex was going to find a way into the land of stories and save her mom, even if she died trying. Dun, dun, dun. Next up is chapter 8, which we'll read as soon as I get a sip of my coffee. Let's see if I can get to it without waking somebody up. Alex has run away, you guys. This is very scary. Coffee's so great, you guys. It's so great. All right. Chapter 8. By the way, I'm still using your bookmark, Anya. Lifeblood, literally. I agree, Amanda. I agree. Chapter 8 is called The Cottage. I'm sorry, Stephanie, I don't mean to rub it in. But look, Steph, it's less than 2 months, right? It's less than 2 months. So just like, keep that in mind. You know what's really funny, really quick before I read chapter 8? The last, I want to say, month or two of my pregnancy, it's not that coffee made me sick. I just like, I don't know, I didn't drink it as much. I don't know why. I didn't have like a real reason. I just like would only drink like half a cup a day or something like that towards the end. And then the first night that we were home with her, I woke up 4 times in the middle of the night with her and drank a cup of coffee at every single one of those times. If you look on my Instagram at the playlist that says Mom Life, one of the first pictures in there is her and I at like 2 a.m. and I'm holding a cup of coffee because the need came right back. Yeah, that's probably what it was. It like everything just, I could never finish anything that last month. After she was born that first night, I ate a full dinner for the first time in forever because my stomach was, I had space again. I could eat. I ate a whole thing of ramen that night. It was wonderful because like towards the end, my husband was like, you don't eat anything anymore. I was like, how can I? There's no space. Like everything feels like it's gonna come back up as soon as you eat it in the end. But then as soon as she was out, I was just like, sounds ridiculous, but it is true. Where can I buy Land of Stories from? Right here. There's a link right here. It takes 3 sittings to finish a meal. That's what I'm saying. That is exactly what I was going through, Stephanie. I'm serious. And she wasn't even that big. You guys saw how small she was when she was born. Ours are so wonky. Water broke in the hospital. Oh my God. Yeah. Yeah. I don't even know when mine broke, actually. Because by the time I got to the hospital, they said it was already broken, but like, I didn't have that like big gushing moment, so I have no idea when it happened. But it did, I guess. I don't know. Anyway, it wasn't like the movies or anything like that, I guess is what I'm saying. I never actually went into active labor. Really? Did you have a C-section? Yours had to be broken both times, so it was obvious. Oh yeah. We were all fooled that day. I never broke scheduled C-section. Yeah, no, it wouldn't in that case. Mine had to have though. They said you had a yeah, you and her both did. Yeah, we were in book club that morning. We've got the book club. But in book club, you didn't think I was in labor, did you, Liz? You couldn't have. Nobody said anything in book club. We were here, we read that morning. Right here in this chair. I wasn't really, I mean, I was feeling like, well, I didn't know until after, Liz. I didn't know. It's not that I didn't tell you. What, you can't tell what you don't know. I was feeling odd. Yeah. I was feeling just like that though. But I just assumed it was just like, well, yeah, hindsight. Because in the moment, I just assumed that the end of pregnancy, you're just always uncomfortable. I just assumed that. But still, we knew the second you told us the actual happenings. Yeah, you knew better than my doula. That is for sure. My doula, I don't know if it's just because I have a high pain tolerance, but I swear, you guys, every time I told her what was going on, she was like, eh. I was like, oh. And my husband was like, can we call the doctor? Because just to check. Yeah, I didn't know either, Roxy. I didn't know either. Yeah. All right. Anyway, let's go to chapter 8. The cottage. It's because we're the same person. Brain powers is doubled that day. Brain powers doubled. I love that for you. Tracking working video. I thought something was up. That I knew something was up by that moment. That's why I was doing it. I was like, if this is it, I better get ready, because I wasn't ready because she wasn't due for another 3 weeks. You know. So anyway, I'll know in the future to be prepared. Right? If it ever happens again, I'll know ahead. Or maybe I won't, because they say they're all different. Right? Whoever knows. Chapter 8, The Cottage. Alex woke up in a grassy field the next afternoon. She looked around and grunted to herself. She had been riding her bike all night and had just stopped to rest for a moment off the side of the road. Alex. Very dangerous. Unacceptable behavior. You can't sleep on the side of the road. No. I don't like it. Clearly, that moment had lasted a few hours longer than she had planned. She was in the foothills leading to the mountains where she knew her grandmother's cottage was. It had been a great while since the last time she and her brother had gone there, so it was difficult to remember the exact directions. As the foothills slowly rose into mountain terrain, she stopped at a tiny gas station and purchased a map. Navigating became harder as the roads wound and forked up into the mountains. She glanced back and forth at the map as she continued, making sure that she was traveling northeast. She remembered her parents used to drive northeast until there were no more roads to take. Alex felt guilty for leaving her brother at home, but hadn't wanted to drag him into her spontaneous plan. Although, when night fell and Alex was forced to set up a small camp off the road by herself, she really had wished that her brother was there to keep her company. I've never been pregnant though, so I'm none the wiser. Yeah, I mean, you really don't know. Like, you think you have an idea, and you really don't know. Everyone always is like, this is the thing I will tell you guys, and this is for Stephanie specifically because she's about to go through it. Everybody said, you'll know when you're in labor. I did not know. So everybody lied. I will tell you, you might not know. You might not know. It depends on your pain tolerance, right? Because if you don't have a pain tolerance, then yeah, you'll know because you'll be screaming. But like, I didn't yell even once during labor, you know what I mean? I was breathing heavily, I was in pain, I was tired, but like, if you ask my husband, he's like, no, you know, you didn't yell at all. I just kind of was like, a lot, you know? Yeah, birthing class instructors were like, man, it's a roll of the dice. I was like, great, that's funny. We didn't have that information given to us. She couldn't make up her mind if it was more dangerous to be traveling in the woods of the fairy tale world or in the woods of her world. Huh. That's a good question. Even though there were no big bad wolves to be worried about around here, there were still regular wolves around. But if she couldn't handle a simple wolf now, how was she going to take down a powerful enchantress when she found her? She doubted swinging a big stick would scare off the woman who'd cursed an entire kingdom for hundreds of years. The more she thought about it, the less sense it made. What did this Esmea woman want with her mother anyway? How did she even get to her mom in the first place? If the fairies couldn't find her or her mother, what made Alex think that she could? Alex and her brother knew more about the enchantress than others gave them credit for. During their encounter with the evil queen, they discovered the enchantress had kidnapped the evil queen when she was a girl and used her in a scheme to take over the fairy tale world. Alex lay on the ground using her backpack as a pillow and let her troubled thoughts wander until she finally fell asleep. Alex got back on her bike before sunrise the next day. She biked all across the windy road until the middle of the afternoon. She jolted forward and almost fell off her bike when the front tire hit a particularly sharp rock and went flat. "You've got to be kidding me," she said, and angrily tossed her useless bike to the side of the road. I know, it's great that he puts that stuff in so that if you haven't read the first one in a while, you have, info. She would have to travel by foot for the rest of her journey, however long that was going to be. Her spirits rose an hour or so after when she saw a wooden bridge up ahead on the road. When Alex and Connor were younger, seeing this bridge meant that they were almost at their grandmother's house. Alex knew that she was close. She jogged towards the bridge in relief, but the closer she got, the less familiar it appeared. It seemed so small compared to the one in her memories. Was it just because she was so much smaller then? Also disheartening was how decrepit the bridge appeared to be. Every piece of wood was chipped and rotting like crazy. Alex took a couple of steps onto the bridge and examined it closer. This didn't feel right. A car could never fit across this bridge. She looked over to the side, and several hundred feet below was a dry and rocky riverbed. The bridge that her family used to drive over was only a few feet higher than the stream that ran under it. Alex sighed. She knew she was lost. She turned on her heels and started to head back when she suddenly heard a crack. And before she could tell where the sound was coming from, Alex fell straight through the bridge. The rotted wood split under her feet. She screamed and grabbed a hold of the bridge, desperately trying to pull herself up, but it was no use. She could hear the crack from the wood under its pressure. "Help!" Alex screamed. "Please, somebody help me!" Alex didn't know who she was even yelling to. As far as she knew, she was alone in the mountains and she was about to fall to her death. No, 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 Alex said to herself. It can't end like this. It cannot end like this. And she struggled to pull herself up, and another loud crack sounded, and she slipped further through the bridge and toward the rocky ground below. Alex felt two hands grab her just in the nick of time. She looked up and she saw a very familiar face looking down at her. At first, she thought it was her dad, but then she realized it was Connor. It was strange to notice how much he had grown up. His face turned bright red as he struggled to hold his sister with all his might. "All right, now Lester, pull us up, buddy," he grunted, and Connor and Alex were slowly dragged upward. Once Alex was above the bridge again, she could see Lester's bill tightly clutching Connor's pants, dragging him up while he dragged her. The giant goose pulled them across the bridge until they were safely on solid ground again. The twins and Lester stayed on the ground until they had all caught their breath. "I hate you so much right now," Connor said to her between heavy pants. "That's funny because I've never loved you more," Alex said with a big smile and rolled over to give her brother a big hug. "Thank you. I owe you one." "Luckily, with the amount of trouble we get ourselves into, I know you'll have a chance to make it up to me," he said, and Lester squawked at them as if to say, "Don't worry about me. I'm fine." "She owes you one too, Lester. Don't worry," Connor said, and the twins stood up and brushed themselves off. They were covered in splinters and chips of rotting wood. Lester got to his feet too and stretched out his neck and his bill. "How did you know where I was?" Alex asked. Lucky guess," Connor said. "You can't even run away like a normal teenager. You're supposed to leave a note, you know. There was only one place I figured you were going. Lester and I have been flying around looking for you all day when we finally spotted your bike down the road." "Does Mother Goose know where I am?" Alex asked. "I've been covering for you since I realized you were gone. I told Mother Goose that you were sick and you were vomiting all over your room. Then, when she wasn't looking, I hijacked her goose and I came looking for you," Connor said. "How'd you manage that one?" Alex asked. "Oh, well, apparently he feels taken for granted, and he thought by helping me, it would teach Mother Goose a lesson," Connor said. "I don't speak goose or anything, but I'm guessing that's the gist of it. Right, boy?" And Connor turned to Lester, and the giant goose just nodded. "Why didn't you take me with you?" Connor asked angrily. "How could you leave me locked up at home? Are you trying to do things solo now or something?" "Not cool, Alex." Alex lowered her head shamefully. "Because Grandma's going to be mad enough at me when she realizes I took off. I didn't want to drag you into it too," she said. "And I found out who has Mom. I pried it out of Mother Goose." "So that's why you took off so abruptly?" Connor said. Who has her? What'd you learn?" Alex now understood why her grandmother had kept this information from them. She felt horrible knowing she was about to make her brother as stressed out as she was. Apparently the Enchantress is back," Alex told him. "The Enchantress who cursed Sleeping Beauty is terrorizing the fairy tale world again, and she has Mom." "What?" he asked in disbelief. "What does the Enchantress want with Mom?" "I don't know," Alex said. "I've been trying to figure that out, and I can't think of anything." "Wait, I thought the Enchantress was dead," Connor said. "The evil queen told us that she poisoned her and she ran off and died, remember?" "Yeah, I guess she was wrong," Alex said. "Esme is her name, and she's very much alive." "And that's why we haven't seen Grandma in so long?" Connor said. "Yeah, I suppose," Alex said. Connor paced around the mountain road thinking, "We've got to get into the fairy tale world." Connor said, "We have to save Mom." "I agree, but what are we going to do when we get there? What can we do to save her that the fairies can't do?" Alex asked. "I don't know. We might not be able to do anything," Connor said, "but 2 more people trying can't hurt, right? Besides, it sure beats sitting around waiting for bad news." A small smile appeared on Alex's face. She couldn't have agreed more. "All right, well, let's try to get to Grandma's cottage before sundown," Alex said. "Do you know where we are? Like, are we even close?" Connor looked around the mountains surrounding them. "Yeah, we're close," he said, and then he pointed to a flat mountain peak in the distance. "Grandma's cottage is just on the other side of that mountain peak. I remember seeing it when we were little and hoping it was a volcano." "Are you sure?" Alex asked. "Yeah, positive," Connor said. "Let's go. Lester, can you take us in the direction of the mountain peak?" And Lester cocked his head in that direction, letting out an exaggerated sigh, but then he nodded. Connor climbed onto Lester's back and offered a hand to Alex. "Climb aboard," he said. "It'll be uploaded later today, Aaron." "Are you sure this is safe?" Alex hesitated. Lester squawked, rather insulted. "You gotta try this, Alex," Connor said enthusiastically. "I understand why OMG travels this way." "OMG?" Alex asked. "Oh, Mother Goose," Connor said. "It's my nickname for her. She calls me Sea Dog." Alex shrugged and took his hand. She swung a leg over the large goose and held tightly to her brother's waist. Connor gripped the reins, ready for liftoff. "All right, let's fly, Lester," he said. And Lester spread his wings. His wingspan was much more impressive in the daylight. He took a few steps back and then bolted into a fast waddle forward, flapping his wings as he went, and they rose higher and higher into the air. Connor was right. It was an incredible experience. The mountains seemed much more majestic from a bird's perspective. The twins had never felt so free in their lives. "I hope no one sees us," Alex said, fearfully looking down at all the roads and tiny towns underneath them. I just hope it isn't goose hunting season, Connor said. Lester squawked and looked back at him, terrified. I'm just kidding, Lester, Connor said. Relax before you lay an egg or something. And Lester headed in the direction of the peak. A few moments later, they were flying over it. Connor was a little disappointed to see that it was, in fact, a flat mountaintop and there was no sign of molten lava inside. Keep an eye out for the cottage, he told his sister. It should be coming up any moment now. And Alex scanned the ground below. It was hard to see anything but treetops and the occasional chimney. She saw a familiar bridge, and her eyes followed the winding road that crossed over it through the woods ahead. At the very end of the road, she could make out the roof of an old storybook cottage. I see it, Alex said, and she pointed to it. It's Grandma's cottage! And Lester landed in front of the cottage just as the sun had begun to set. Alex and Connor climbed off the goose and observed their grandmother's old home. Whoa, Connor said. Yeah, it's definitely not in the same condition that we left it in, Alex said. It was obvious that no one had lived in this cottage for a long time. The front lawn was particularly dead and overgrown in some places. The flower beds were full of weeds, and blades of grass were almost as tall as the twins. Ivy grew up the sides of the cottage, and part of the roof had caved in. Their grandmother's blue car was parked outside, but it hadn't been driven in years. A layer of dirt covered it, and a city of spider webs had been spun between the tires. Although the cottage was mostly used as a prop since their grandmother only lived there when the twins visited, it was still a location of the twins' happiest childhood memories. They were sad to see how abandoned it had become. Alex and Connor approached the front door apprehensively. Lester, bon appetit, Connor said and gestured to the overgrown grass. Lester squawked and happily went to town on it. Do you think it's locked? Alex asked, and Connor twisted the handle and the door creaked open, answering her question. The twins stepped inside and surveyed the interior. It was exactly how they remembered it, except dusty and covered in cobwebs. Grandma's rocking chair was still by the fireplace, and it faced a large rug the twins used to lie on while she read to them. It's so strange to see everything again, Alex said. Grandma's chair, the fireplace, the kitchen table. I almost can't believe it's been here this whole time. Do you remember the forts we used to build with Dad under that thing? Connor asked, pointing to the table. Hey. Hi. 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 Hi, baby angel. You going back to sleep? Okay. How could I forget? Alex asked. You always tried to keep me out, but Dad never let you. You know what's funny? Connor said as he walked around. Even though we know that Grandma never actually lived here, whenever I picture Grandma, I always picture her in this place, baking cookies or reading by the fireplace. Hi. Hi. Yeah, me too, Alex said. Most of our childhood was a front, but at least it was a happy front. You think we'll find something here that can take us to the fairy tale world? Connor asked. We have to, Alex said simply, but she had her doubts. She wasn't sure what she was searching for, but she knew she'd know it as soon as she saw it. Connor looked at all the dusty frames on the top of the fireplace mantel. They were mostly pictures of him and his sister at birthday parties and holidays with their family. In one picture, the twins were 3 years old and... Oh, good burp. That was a good one. They were 3 years old and sitting on Santa's lap. Connor was very chubby and had a grin on his face. Alex was crying hysterically. Yeah, oh, indeed. Hey, check out this picture of us with Santa, Connor laughed. You look like he's about to eat you. I was preparing myself for the other fictional characters who did try to eat me, Alex said, and Connor snickered and picked up another photo. Look how young Mom and Dad look in this photo. I don't think we were even born yet. And Alex walked over and looked at it for herself. Connor, we look just like them, she said. There's no denying that those are our parents. Yeah, you're right, Connor said. I came up with the whole adoption theory when I found out we were part fairy, but looking at this picture kind of tosses that out the window. Okay, you want to go to the mat? Are you ready? You ready to play? Is that what you're telling me? Okay. Okay. You can play. That's all right. It's all right. We can play. You want to play? Boop, 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 boop. 1, 2, whee! Yay! I'm right here. Honey, no, you don't have to be sad. Mommy's right here. Mommy's right here. Hi. I'm just getting my coffee, and I'm getting our friends. Yeah, I'm just getting everybody. That's all. You don't have to be sad. No sad. No sad. Okay. Tower of Terror in 3, 2, whoop. Mommy's gonna have a sip of coffee while we're reorganizing ourselves. 9:22, I will mark the wake up later. Ah, delightful. She's getting, yeah, she's just getting the people on the phone. That's right. I'm just getting the people on the phone. Okay, you ready to continue, honey? It's about Santa, sort of. Not really. That's kind of not true at all. Alex went back to searching, confident that something would pop out to her at any moment. Have you found anything that seems portal worthy? Connor asked her. No, not yet, Alex said. Well, except for maybe this. Alex was staring up at a beautiful painting on the wall. She remembered it from when she was little, and unlike the rest of the cottage, the painting remained just as vibrant. It was a colorful painting of a pond that had the beautiful shades of blue and green in it. There was something about it that seemed more familiar the more she looked at it. You think that painting could take us into the land of stories? Connor asked. I mean, it worked in one of the Narnia books, Alex said, and she stepped closer to the painting and placed a hand on its frame. It's Ugly Duckling Pond, Alex said, recognizing it. This is it. This has to be our way in. Why else would Grandma have a picture of this pond in her cottage? You think you can get it to work? Connor asked. I mean, I can try, Alex said, and she placed both of her hands on the golden frame and tried to will it to life. But nothing happened. She closed her eyes and took a deep breath, willing it even harder. Still nothing happened. Connor clapped his hands loudly, breaking his sister's concentration. Clap on, he said. What are you doing? Alex asked him. I don't know, I was just thinking of other ways to turn it on, he said. Is there like a remote control or a switch somewhere? Maybe it's like a plasma screen. Alex ignored him and went back to focusing. She imagined all the places and the people that she had met during her first visit. She imagined the castles and the forests and things that her brother and her had seen. She imagined all the dangerous animals and the creatures they encountered, but mostly she thought of how desperately she wanted to see all of that again. Alex thought of her grandmother, her father, and her mother, and she thought of the pond in the painting, the lily pads, the fireflies, and she thought of its water. To the twins' amazement, the painting began to glow. You did it. You don't have to kick them, honey. I don't think they want you to kick them. You did it, Connor said, and he hugged his sister. You set it off. I did? Alex asked. It was almost too good to be true. I did it. I did it. The twins jumped up and down with excitement, but their excitement quickly faded into fear. The painting began to glow brighter and brighter, and the cottage began to rattle. It felt like a large train was passing below them. Exactly how did the kids travel in Narnia through the painting? Connor asked, slowly stepping away from their painting. Uh-oh. The cottage stopped shaking and the painting dimmed. Only now the painted pond was gone and the canvas was completely blank. Huh? Alex said. Well, that's strange. It's a bit of a relief, though, Connor said. I was worried for a second that the water was going to crash out and spill into crash. A tidal wave of water crashed through the windows by the front door. The twins screamed and ran to the back of the cottage. Crash! Another tidal wave came running through to the back. Crash! Water was gushing through every door, every window, flooding the cottage. What is going on? Connor yelled. Did we hit an iceberg? He described it perfectly. It felt like they were sinking and sinking fast. They were already waist deep in the water. The twins looked around in horror as their grandmother's former home was destroyed. Oh no, what have we done? Alex shouted. All right, I always wanted a pool, but this is a little bit ridiculous, Connor yelled. And the water poured into the house faster and faster. The twins couldn't keep their feet on the floor anymore. They treaded water as it lifted them toward the ceiling. We've got to swim out of here or we're going to drown, Connor said. Follow me. He took a deep breath and dove under the water, and Alex was quick to follow him. They swam across the cottage to the front door, and there was an extremely strong current coming through the door, so the twins had to grab a hold of anything they could to force themselves against it. They pulled themselves past the front door, discovering that the cottage was no longer in the mountains, but in a large, murky body of water. It sank below them and disappeared into the dark, watery depths. The twins grabbed hold of each other and swam as hard as they could to the surface, praying that there would be a surface. Finally, they saw a distorted night sky above them. It was the surface. The twins surfaced, and in the mysterious water they gasped for air. The air was freezing against their face. Oh, what was all that about? Connor yelled. Alex wasn't paying attention to him, though. She saw large trees in the distance with giant roots that sank into the ground. Fireflies filled the air and lily pads floated on the water around them. She knew exactly where they were. Connor, Alex said, and excitedly splashed her brother. We are in Ugly Duckling Pond. We're here. We're back in the land of stories. Dun dun dun. Dun, dun, dun.
They made it. They made it, huh?
She's kind of just like contentedly playing. I feel like we should almost take advantage of it and just like read a little more. Do you guys have a little more time? I know it's technically almost 9:30, but she's just like happy as a clam. I don't know. The next chapter is short. We might be able to get through part of it. I don't know. Let's see, right? We'll see what we can do. If she doesn't last, she doesn't last, but we'll just try, right? This chapter is called Chapter 9, The Gathering in the Woods. We're on page 127, Tiffany, 127. And for anyone who doesn't know who's in here, all of these get uploaded to my YouTube afterwards. So if you missed anything or any of them, you can always get them over there. I upload them later in the day. So they're all there in a playlist called Land of Stories Reread. And all the other books we've read also. Alex and Connor slowly crawled out of the pond. They were soaked, muddy, and covered in lily pads. They shivered in the cool night air and held themselves tightly as they looked around the land. The ugly duckling pond was in the middle of a forest in the northern kingdom. The twins had passed it on their previous trip into the Land of Stories, but they had never expected to become so acquainted with it on their next visit. I can't believe that we just sank Grandma's house, Connor said through chattering teeth. It takes a lot of talent to submerge something that isn't even close to any water. Bits and pieces of their grandmother's cottage were still floating around in the pond. Her rocking chair bobbled up and down in the water. Alex was so amazed she didn't even care how dirty or cold she was. I sure hope that Grandma has good house insurance. Wait, sorry, wrong voice. I really hope that Grandma has good house insurance. Alex, wait, are you even listening to me? Connor asked, and she turned to face him. The excitement was practically glowing in her eyes. She didn't care how they had gotten there. They were there, and that was all that mattered. We're here. We are actually here, Alex said. She was trembling. She couldn't take the smile off her face. Despite the circumstances, this was the first time that Alex had been happy in months. Congratulations. You managed to successfully and dangerously transport us into the fairy tale world. Again, Connor said with a smile of his own. I gotta say, I prefer Grandma's methods of transportation to yours, though. Alex's smile disappeared as the reality of this set in. She surveyed the forest and the pond more closely. Something's wrong, she said. Of course something's wrong, Connor said. Grandma's cottage is at the bottom of the pond. How are we going to explain this to her? That's not what I mean, Alex said. Listen, do you hear that? Connor raised his eyebrow and he looked from side to side. The pond and the forest were dead silent. I don't hear anything, Connor said. Exactly, Alex said. We're standing at the edge of a pond and there's no sound. No frogs, no crickets, nothing. Connor nodded, understanding exactly what she meant. It was so eerie, he was surprised he hadn't noticed it before. Yeah, it's like everything's on mute. Or hiding, Alex said. Hey, friendo, you're getting a little close to that. Do you think we could back up and try again? You're getting real good at moving. Even if you're not crawling, your scoot's getting real good, friend. Yeah. You could scooch this way, though. There's plenty of space in that direction. Scooch away. You have your whole playpen. Suddenly, on the other side of the pond, a dark figure emerged from the trees, and it startled the twins at first until they saw a small thing, barely the size of a dog. It was running fast on 4 skinny legs and had something white trailing behind it. Alex and Connor hid behind the tree and watched it from afar. The strange creature slowed into a fast and springy walk as it delicately approached the pond. It was wearing a dark cloak, and it lowered its hood with its front paws before taking a drink from the water. The moonlight was reflecting off the water and illuminated the mysterious visitor. The twins could make out what it was. It had dark red fur, pointy ears, and a long fluffy tail with a white tip. It's a fox, Connor whispered to Alex, and the fox jerked its head up from the water, his bright yellow eyes glowing in their direction. He must have impeccable hearing. The twins stayed still, and the fox headed for the trees in the opposite direction of where he had come from. Where's he going? Alex whispered to her brother. Do I look like an expert on cloaked animals? Connor said, and the fox disappeared into the trees. But besides being the only living thing that they had seen, there was something very intriguing about him. Neither of the twins wanted to let him out of their sight. We should follow him, Connor said. Why? Alex asked. Connor shrugged. Do we have another plan we're supposed to be following? He said. Oh, good point, Alex said. And without another moment to waste, the twins began chasing after the small fox, hoping that he would lead them to someone or something that would help them find their mother. Alex and Connor ran after the fox for a good while. He wasn't sticking to the path, so it was hard to see him between the trees ahead. He was incredibly fast for his size, too, so it was difficult to keep up with him. They were happy to run and warm their bodies, though. Their clothes began to dry the more that they went on. It looks like we're going into the dwarf forest, Alex whispered as she jogged. How can you tell? Connor asked. The trees are getting thicker and it's getting harder to see the sky, Alex said. Also, I'm feeling more anxious the further that we run. That's my biggest clue. Connor gulped. The dwarf forest had never been a good place for the twins. The last time they had been in this part of the land of stories, they had been chased by wolves and kidnapped by goblins. The fox came into view ahead, and the twins came to a belated stop like cars with bad brakes. They hid behind the biggest tree that they could find and gestured for the other one to be quiet. The fox was standing on his hind legs next to a stone well in the middle of a clearing. The moon illuminated the clearing like a spotlight, and the fox stood very still, keeping a close watch on the trees around him. He was waiting, but for what? The twins couldn't tell. At one point, the fox looked directly at the twins' hiding spot, but he didn't appear to see them. The twins wondered if they blended in with the rest of the forest because they were so dirty or because it was dark out. It was unnervingly quiet in the dwarf forest, too. It was surprising, since the twins remembered hearing all kinds of troubling sounds coming from close and afar the last time they were here. A few twig snaps echoed in the night as someone or something made its way into the clearing. The fox jerked his head in the direction of the snaps and smiled, exposing several tiny, sharp teeth. A sly expression came to his face. The twins couldn't tell if it was because he was pleased or just because he was a fox. 3 cloaked figures stepped into the clearing. They were of all different shapes and sizes. One was enormous, another was only a little bigger than the twins, and the third was as tiny as the fox. A large raven swooped into the clearing, perching on the well next to the fox. It didn't need a cloak. Its dark feathers were enough to camouflage it in the night. The others surrounded the well, all facing the fox. The fox rubbed his small paws together. So glad that you could all make it here, the fox said through his toothy grin. The smallest of the cloaked figures lowered its hood. He had shiny black eyes, white stripes, and a short snout. It was a badger, and a paranoid one at that. It isn't safe for us to be out in the night like this, the badger said nervously, looking around. At least not anymore. Relax, Badger, the fox said. If the enchantress wanted to harm us, we'd all be dead by now. Get to the point, fox, the raven squawked impatiently. Why did you call us all here tonight? Hey, what's the matter? You want this? She looks happy as a clam. I don't know. She's got stuff to say, but she's not upset about it. I know, she chuckles like a little person. She goes, heh. Oh, really? Is that so? Is that so? Yeah. The largest of the hooded figures lowered its hood, and it was... You want milk? Milk? Look at mommy. Milk? Yeah, okay. Hold on. She wants milk. Milk, milk, milk. It's right here. It's right here. But you can't lay that way to drink it. You either have to lay on your back or you have to sit up. Those are your options. Here. Whee! Milkies! Yay, milk! Oh, yummy. Can you hold it with 2 hands? 2 hands. Very good. Very good. Yeah, it's yummy, huh? You want mommy to hold it? Mommy will hold it. But if you hold it with 2 hands, it's good. Lots of your old videos are showing up on my FYP recently. Oh, I love that. Thank you, Grace. I love hearing that. You know, that helps, right? Every little bit helps. All right, where were we? It was a gigantic brown bear. And make it fast. I've got cubs at home, the bear said with a booming and growly voice. Alex and Connor had never seen so many talking animals in the same place. They hoped their presence would remain unnoticed. I just returned from the Eastern Kingdom, the fox said. I heard the enchantress did a number on it, but I wanted to see it with my own 2 eyes. The whole place is a disaster. It's covered in vines and thorn bushes as far as the eyes can see. It's worse than I ever imagined. It's as if the thorn bush pit has taken over the entire kingdom. She's blowing into one of those chewies that has a hole in the whole thing. That's what that sound is, in case you're wondering. She's like, whoo. She's figured out that it makes noise. It's like a little trumpet. Oh dear. The badger squealed and began to nervously tap his paws together. Is it going to cross into the other kingdoms? I hate thorns, the raven said. That's the thing, the fox explained. The plants grow perfectly along the border, but they don't cross into the northern kingdom at all. I tried provoking the plant with a stick, but it only coiled around the edge of the eastern kingdom ground. It takes powerful magic to be that specific. The animals exchanged worried expressions. The remaining hooded member of the group maintained his silence, and Alex and Connor wondered what kind of creature was under that cloak. Why would the plants only stay in one kingdom? The bear asked. I reckon the enchantress is taking over the world in style, the fox said. She's doing it one kingdom at a time, showing the world that the happily ever after assembly is no match for her, and it's only a matter of time before she takes over the dwarf forest too, and we have got to be prepared. But what does she want with the dwarf forest? The badger asked, shaking his head. It's full of nothing but criminals and outcasts like us. The fox's grin grew bigger. Exactly why I called you all here tonight, he said. I think we should pledge our allegiance to the enchantress now, before she strikes. The animals grunted and growled their protest. You're out of your rabbit-praying mind, fox, the bear said. We're already fugitives, the raven said. You want us to get locked away in Pinocchio prison next? The fox raised his paws at them, calming their nerves. Hear me out before you disregard me entirely, he said. Think about it. The reason we live in these parts is because none of us could fit into a happily ever after assembly-regulated society. The enchantress is going to change all that. The world of fairies and man is over. If we show loyalty to her now, then when she takes over, and she will take over, she may spare us. The fox was slowly starting to convince the animals. They all remained quiet, except for the badger. We can't do that, the badger said. It's already bad enough living in exile. Can you imagine what they would do to us if we sided with her? That's where you're mistaken, badger, the fox said. You're still in the happily ever after frame of mind. I saw what the enchantress is capable of, and trust me, all the fairies in the world aren't going to be able to stop her this time. If they could, they would have done so already. The animals looked back and forth to one another. All were afraid to be the first to express their interest. How would we show her our allegiance? The bear asked. You're not agreeing with him, are you? The badger asked the bear. Are you agreeing with him? A little bit? Just a little bit? Which side are you on? You gotta make a decision, kiddo. What side are you on? The bear growled restlessly. We're already castaways. What more can they do to us? He said. If the world is changing, why not change with it? Especially if there's something in it for us. Well, honey, do you want the milk? You can't lay like that if you want to have the milk. You gotta be the other way. It doesn't work that way. Here. 1, 2, whee! Here. Yay, milkies! Yummy, yummy milkies, yummy, yummy milkies. Yummy. Yeah, can you hold this with 2 hands? 2 hands. Or 1 mommy hand. Sounds like Girly Pop is living life. I know, she really is. I love the term Girly Pop. I don't know why. It tickles me pink on you. I think it's a great term. Oh, okay, well, there went my bookmark. I only have 1 hand, so the bookmark's gonna have to stay there for now. Hi. You're a mess. What more can you do to us? If the world is changing, why not change with it? Especially if there's something in it for us. The raven bobbed up and down, contemplating. What's your plan, fox? She asked. I've been asking around and I've got some ideas, the fox said, his mouth dropped in the smile, but his eyes hadn't. What about you? The raven squawked in the direction of the unidentified creature. You've been awfully quiet. He's always quiet, the bear said. I don't even know if he can speak. The hooded creature looked around at his fellow animals and he nodded. A simple, singular ribbit came from under his hood. Alex and Connor both gasped. Could it be? The badger must have heard the twins' reaction because he grew more timid than ever before. We should get out of here before we get caught. I want you to think it over, the fox said. You all know where to find me. and all of the animals put their hoods back on and disappeared out into the night. The fox took one look around the forest before following the others. Perhaps the badger's paranoia had gotten to him. The twins knew that they wanted to follow the mysterious hooded creature, but they made sure the other animals were a safe distance away, and then they bolted into the forest after their new target. The forest became darker and darker as they went. The twins had been running for a few minutes, jumping over boulders and tree roots. They were cold, tired, and lost. It was almost nostalgic for them, reminding them of their last trip, but there was no sign of the hooded creature. "I don't get it," Alex said. "He was just there." "It's like he disappeared into Connor screamed, and Alex turned to see what startled her brother. Emerging from the trees directly behind them was the hooded creature. He was much taller and more menacing than he had looked in the clearing. He began to slowly walk toward the twins. They clutched each other in fear. "We're sorry for following you," Connor said. "We thought that we might know you." "We didn't mean you any harm," Alex said. We'll leave you now." And the creature kept coming toward them. "You better get away from us, though," Connor said, taking another approach. "My sister knows magic. She just sank a house, so she'll really mess you up." Alex stared at her brother in disbelief. Did he think that was helpful? The creature just froze a few feet away from them and looked up at the twins, and then down and side to side. Connor picked up a big stick on the ground and began swinging it in the hooded creature's direction. "I played t-ball in elementary school," he said. "I'm warning you." A soft chuckle came from under the creature's cloak. "Come now, is that really how you're going to greet an old friend?" A very familiar and proper voice said. It slowly removed its hood, and the twins sighed with relief. "Froggy?" the twins exclaimed, and they jumped into a huge hug, violently embracing their old friend. "Hello, Connor." "Hello, Alex," Froggy said and hugged them back. "I wish I could say it's a surprise to see you two, but you've always had a knack for finding your way into danger." Froggy was a tall, man-sized frog with bright eyes and a wide mouth. He always dressed to impress, and the twins noticed that he was wearing a three-piece suit under his cloak. "It's really good to see you, Froggy." "We've missed you so much," Alex said. "And I've missed you," Froggy said as he leaned down to look them both in the eyes. "You've both grown so much. You're practically grown-ups now." His expression fell once he remembered where this reunion was taking place. "My goodness, what on earth are you two doing here at a time like this? Did your grandmother know where you are?" Alex and Connor exchanged guilty glances at each other. Not really," Connor said. "Grandma doesn't know exactly where we are," Alex said, not looking him in the eye. "I should certainly hope not," Froggy said. "The dwarf forest is still too dangerous for you to be in, especially these days, and especially this late." Hey! Hi! Hi! Alex and Connor each gave another glance. "I recognize that look," Froggy said. "What aren't you telling me? And why are you both so filthy?" Alex and Connor considered lying to him for a second, but they knew that they couldn't. "Our grandma doesn't know that we're in this world," Alex confessed, and Froggy's wide mouth fell open and he stared blankly at the twins. "How did you get here?" "Alex sank our grandma's house. I wasn't kidding," Connor said. "That's why we're covered in swamp juice. It was horrifying and strangely awesome all at the same time." "Okay, but don't you want to finish your milk? If you stay this way, you can finish it, but every time you turn, it's..." "Oh, no sad. Here's your milkies." Are we done for the day? Okay, we're done for the day. We did really well, though. We did really well. We're done. Okay, well, we did really well. She did great. And we will see you all either later for Baby Book Club or tomorrow. We got through a lot. Froggy's back. Why is Froggy a frog again? When we left him, he was a prince. What is going on? I don't remember. I genuinely don't remember. Honey, why is he a frog? Yeah, I don't know either. Why is he a frog? Well, we'll find out tomorrow, won't we? Or at least I hope we will. I don't actually know if we will. Okay, we love you guys. You see Screen Mommy? You see Screen Mommy? There she is. Yeah. Okay. Mwah. Can you blow kisses? Say mwah. Yeah. Okay, bye guys.